now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show brings you famous celebrities and amazing people from all over the world. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can also check our Facebook page, facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. Also, download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And we also added Anchor FM to our lineup and looking to add more on in the future. You can also subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel and make sure you have everyone subscribe as well and take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. We're here with a wonderful gentleman from the Windy City who's not only a radio producer, a radio guy from the world's greatest newspaper facility in beautiful downtown Chicago. He's also a singer. He's also a fill-in host, and he does just a number of things that will amaze you, and he's been in such hot spots like the Uncommon Ground, Bill's Bar and Burger, Houndstooth Saloon, Lily's, and more in the Windy City, just playing his guitar and doing this thing. So for those who listen on radio, he's a very familiar voice on Radio 720, which once upon a time was home of the Chicago Cubs, but this guy knows how to make things happen, and he's also been on a few shows as well, too, talking about what he does, and just loves what he does. So, ladies and gentlemen, live from Chicago, the very wonderful Michael J. Foxy, or better known as Michael Heidemann. Mike, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Mike, it's great to be on the show. Huge fan. It's good to talk to you and hear that beautiful history that you laid out about WGN, too.
Yes, that's right, too. Of course, being a Cub fan for so many years and looking up, it's like they moved to another station. I went, oh, no, what are we going to do? But, times change and everything else. But, of course, just working with a number of legends, too. And you've been a Chicago area singer, radio producer, also fill-in host at WGN Radio in Chicago. You also sing and play guitar under the name of Michael J. Foxy, just performing your acoustic set in a number of venues like the Uncommon Ground, Bill's Bar and Burger, Houndstooth Saloon, Lily's, and to name a few. And you've also been on a few radio shows, and you've got some upcoming projects. But first, before we get into all that, tell us how you got started.
Well, I got started pretty much the way that I think a lot of other people would get started in radio and music. And I guess to get started, I'll talk about radio first. I would always listen to music in the car with my dad when we'd go on long, long trips. Most of my family was from Wisconsin and is from Wisconsin. So we'd go all the way from Illinois to the farthest reaches of the cold weathers in Wisconsin. So we'd be listening to yes, it was quite the travel. I don't know how the pioneers did it, but my dad would always put on things like NPR, WGN, and Bloomberg, all these news stations. And for years, I was like, "Oh, this stinks. I want to listen to music. I want to listen to music." But then I think slowly but surely, I got into college and got more into talk radio myself, and then eventually tried to get a job with a few stations around the school I was in. I was going to DePaul for a little bit, and it wasn't until I finished college that I came back from Southern Utah University, and I really hit the radio game hard and did promotions over at a station called The Mix, and handing out chapstick at 5Ks at 3 o'clock in the morning, having people spin the wheel for T-shirts, and did that for about 2 years until I moved over to WGN as a producer. But, it always just came from a love of radio, a love of great voices, seeing people, like Orion Samuelson and Ryan Seacrest and Howard Stern talk on air, and just thinking, wow, they're really swaying public opinion and giving this like a good positive outlook on life just with their voices and their minds. And That's just a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, yeah, go ahead.
And it is a beautiful thing, too. Spike O'Dell was on for quite some time, and I think there was Bob Collins. He's been the WGN voice for many years until he perished in a plane crash in 2000. That was around the time my second youngest, Stephen, was born in 2000. As soon as he was born, Bob Collins was the voice until that plane crash. But you did have a lot of talents as well, too. And, of course, you have Brian Noonan, the comedian, and you also had... and I'm trying to think a couple of others, the two girls that you have at 10 o'clock. Who is it, Pat and Judy or something? I mean, it's been a while since I've been in Chicago. So I think there's like two girls around there, like from 10 to noon, I think. So I'm just trying to think.
You got a very great memory, Mike. And I love that because, you're talking about Kathy and Judy.
Kathy and Judy, that's it.
And that's another thing. So my grandpa, when I was growing up, he would drive around and he would listen to them nonstop. He was the biggest fan of theirs. So then later on, when I was working at the station, I got to produce for them. So getting to work with these people that I grew up listening to was always just such a treat. And being in radio is just such an amazing thing because it's the last great medium. It's the magic of the mind. You're sitting there listening around the campfire or in your car, and just to paint a picture for the listeners, it's truly an amazing thing. And I'm very thankful to my WGN family who has set me on the right path and everything. So it's great, and it's great to hear all those wonderful things you say about the station too. It's a really cool thing to be a journalist for music, talk, entertainment, and more. And it's given me a lot of awesome opportunities, everything from speaking at South by Southwest as a mentor, going to the 2019 Grammy Awards, covering music festivals high and low all through Chicago. I just got done covering Lollapalooza here in the city, and I have Riot Fest coming up as well. It's an awesome experience to use your mind and use your, the things that kind of made you a nerd in high school as a career. So, I know you probably feel the same exact way.
Mm-hmm. And I do feel the same way, too. I mainly listened to WGN when the Chicago Cubs were on the air. You had Jack Brickhouse, and then you later had Pat Hughes. And I think there was someone that was in that time. And I remember Jack Brickhouse would say, tipped right, back, hey. And that was like the first voice that just occurred to me when I listened to radio. It was more into sports, with Jack Brickhouse, and then he got on the other side, WMAQ, Harry with you, and he's sitting there just drinking a Falstaff and smoking a bunch of cigars at the Comiskey Park broadcast booth, and only 10,000 fans were there, but it was just all pure entertainment. And, of course, you had the Bears were on tour for a little bit as well, too, and, of course, you had I think the Bulls might have been on briefly, and of course you had maybe Chicago Blackhawks, but it was just all over the gamut with WGN, especially being called as the world's greatest newspaper, starting as with from barn dances to big band, and now what you're doing as well with talk. And speaking of talk radio and everything else, what are the times we can listen to you? Like, what's your regular shift on WGN so we can listen to you in Chicago on WGN 720 and also worldwide, WGN.com?
Absolutely. We're heard 38 states in Canada, all over the country on the dial as well as online. But you can hear me every single night, Monday through Friday, from 10 until 1 a.m. I used to work on the Steve Cochran Morning Show, and I just transitioned over to kind of take the helm for our late night show at the moment. And you're going to hear a lot of great radio hosts at 10 to 1 a.m. But if you want to hear me, you can find me at Sound Sessions Podcast. Just search that online, Sound Sessions Podcast. All the best music interviews from the greatest artists. We do concert coverage and more. And we have an album review show called Two Dudes, One Disc.
Two Dudes, One Disc. I love it.
And I'd love to have you on one of these days. It's where we take on a full-length album from the past and relate it to people's stories, the things that they've gone through in their life, and kind of make a connection through that. So you can catch me in all those places and more. And if you want to come and see my music, you can come down to Chicago and see me perform at Bill's on 30 East Hubbard, which for most of your audience, I'm sure, is like, who, what? But it's in downtown Chicago. Go and check me out there, and that's every single Saturday from 9 until midnight.
It also makes me think of the part where you said about what was it, the two sides or something? It's like I still have a stack full of vinyl, and I'll be more than happy to talk about that. But of course, we can talk about that off the air as well too, and it's a great thing. Yes, and of course, I was talking to some people as well too that I still have a turntable. My my lovely family gave me 2 years ago, and then a year, after that, when it came Christmas time, got me a brand new Yeti microphone. So it's like, I'm trying to find a way to put the Yeti microphone and a record player together, but that'll be another time as well, having old-time radio. So that's a good thing, too. So
Yeah. Maybe we can turn you into a DJ Michael Wagner, and maybe you could play Lollapalooza next year or something like that.
Oh, that'd be great. I have to make myself a clone and send it over there. It's amazing, too. You talk about your musical career. We'll get to that in just a second. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. Also, check our Facebook page, facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. Also, download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, and also on Anchor FM and a few other outlets coming soon to your social media. And also, check out the Mike Wagner Show on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on YouTube. And also, you can take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. We're here with Michael Heidemann. Now he's going to be called Michael J. Foxy. He's a radio guy, Michael Heidemann for WGN. And of course, as you mentioned, you can catch him from 10 at night until 1 in the morning, Monday through Friday. And when he's not on the radio, he becomes Michael J. Foxy. Just hops in the phone booth, pulls out a guitar, and decides to play. And before maybe you could sing or play guitar, if you have it, tell us how your singing career started.
So this is, and by the way, that is how I get started. I just jump in that phone booth like Superman, jump out with the guitar, and then I just start rocking and rolling. It's really easy. It's tough to find a phone booth, though. They're not many around anymore.
I know it's an expression, but at least find something, though. So, like a cafe or something, yeah.
It's important. So my music career started. I saw MTV on the rise. I mean, I was born in the '80s, and I grew up in the '90s when music was at its heyday. Seeing bands like Nirvana, Eric Clapton, Stevie Wonder, Fleetwood Mac, but it all came down to my dad had this old Epiphone guitar just sitting in our house, and I guess he tried to play guitar at one point, and I started strumming it, and he's like, well, maybe he has an interest in guitar. So then maybe around 6th or 7th grade, he picked me up a guitar at Guitar Center. I remember it was this beautiful, sunburst washed electric guitar, and I called it Tiger. And
Ooh.
my whole goal was to write music or figure out how to play the guitar. And he gave me these 2 fat Beatle books with every single Beatles song that there was just laid out. And I would go and pen through that the books every single day, just trying to find these chords, trying to figure out the song structure. I didn't know I was trying to figure out the song structure yet. I was just trying to figure out how to play these chords and play these songs that I grew up with the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
And then just kept playing, and then by the time I was in high school, I knew enough chords to pretend to play music with my friends. So I got into this hippie band called Free Firewood. And
Free Firewood, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we took the name because we would be able to steal signs easy. Because you'd see the Free Firewood signs all the time, and we'd put them in front of our drum sets when people were selling wood. But then, it was a great way to connect with friends in high school, and then I just kept playing, and then playing shows at the VFW in McHenry County, which is a really small town outside of Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
or going to the local skate park and playing there, and seeing your friends come to your shows and making flyers. Everything about music, I was just enthralled by it, interested in. So when I got done with college, I played a little bit of acoustic guitar through there. And then over the past 2 years, I've been really taking it to my advantage living in Chicago, which is such an amazing music city, to, really put my mind towards this music, and was able to play a weekly show here And it's kind of just blossomed from there. There's nothing better than playing music in the city.
That is amazing too. And of course, besides the Beatles, who else would consider your influences when it came to music, especially guitar players?
Oh well, growing up, obviously it was the guitar playing of Eric Clapton and people like the Byrds or what Bruce Springsteen was really a big influence. Neil Young, Cat Stevens was one of my first big influences.
Oh my gosh, I love Cat Stevens. Morning is Broken. That was like the first record my parents gave me for my birthday. It's like the first 45. It's like I never heard of those things, but it's like, what's this? But put on a turntable, put the needle down, and music came out. And that's how I got hooked. So,
really, because it was the same thing. My dad used to show me Father and Son. We used to sing that song together when I was young. And then just over the past year, I was telling somebody how much I loved Cat Stevens, and one of our news guys, Vic Vaughn, actually gave me his old vinyl, A Teaser in the Fire Cat.
Oh my goodness!
I've been spinning that for a while now.
Oh my goodness! I'm gonna have to go through my Cat Stevens collection and pull it out and play that after this. It's like, we had the albums, then was the 8-tracks, the cassettes, and then CDs, and now you got the MP3s, downloads, and everything else. I mean, Cat Stevens is just amazing.
He was, and he is. Like, he's just so amazing, and that's kind of where I think I take my music. I love that those open chords he plays on his albums, and just the way his voice almost is used as an instrument itself on the albums. And the way he writes about positive things, and it brings people together. It's almost like a religious harmony that he's creating with his sound. So Cat Stevens was definitely an influence. But there's, to be honest, nowadays it's bands like The Strokes, bands like a lot of punk rock bands like Bayside and The Killers that really inspire me. And now even more so, I've been really getting into country music because I vowed my whole life I'm never going to listen to country. I'm a punk rock kid at heart, and that's my thing. But seeing the way that these guitarists play music today, people like Chris Stapleton or Jake Owen, Garth Brooks, seeing these guys play the way that they do, they make some incredible, incredible music. And every single day, just like in radio, when you're trying to get better with your voice or the way that you speak or with the conversation that you have with people, music is just, you're making sounds and making a piece of wood sing. And there's nothing better than just trying to, figure out new ways to send your message through something as beautiful as music. It's all about communication.
And that's the most important thing. How radio got started was basically communication. And if you go back to the 1900s, I don't know how far that you learned about radio and everything else, but in the 1900s, when radio was first invented, the first music program was basically classical music and reading Bible passages. And I thought, that is amazing. I mean, what was out at the time? Classical music, no rock, no country, no jazz or anything. It was just classical music. And what books did you really have? You had the Bible. Then you had works of or literature from Shakespeare and everything else. And it's funny how radio evolved, and that's what's original thing as well, too. And, of course, let's put an emphasis that radio is meant to communicate, not just to fill space for the heck of it, like people think. So that's the thing that people really need to emphasize, that radio seriously is communication, no matter what the format is. And, of course, people say radio may be dead, but you know what? Radio's still alive.
More alive than ever. Yeah, it's a great communicator. It's really it's amazing that you get things taken away from, like you said, like reading the Bible, doing those old Orson Welles plays, just old cowboy shows that they used to have, Orphan Annie on the radio, and now what it's turned into. It's a pretty incredible thing, and I think that there's a lot of cool things that we can do. Like right now, you and I are talking on the internet. Somebody's listening to us across the country, and that's a really awesome thing that I think will keep radio live and kicking for from now on out.
And of course, I've had people tell me that they're listening from Finland or Australia or even Canada, and I've had some fans from London that tuned in. I was in internet radio a while back, and I had a fan club going in London, and then I was asked by a Dublin, Ireland station to do a show, just send voice tracks over, and then I also had some people from Accra, Ghana, was impressed with my work. And then you got some people from Canada. So it's all over the place that, radio does. And, just all I can say is just keep it alive and whatever else. And, just got the magic of it.
Yeah, actually, I heard from a huge fan base when I told everyone I was going to be in your show that you got a really good centralized fan base over in Botswana. Actually, they wanted to give you the key to the city later, so you might want to check in with them.
Botswana. Well, I haven't been given the key yet because, here's our tracking number, but you have to send some money by check. No, I'm kidding. I told them take their time. It's like if it's a digital, I can wait too. So
yeah, and I think maybe some free Mike Wagner T-shirts should be good to send over to them.
Oh, you know something? I think that'd be great too. I mean, I prefer coffee myself too. It's like coffee mugs and everything. It's a lot of things you can do with radio, I'll tell you that. But of course, you know something too? If I sent you some maybe to your shows, and you can do that too. But we'll talk about that as well too. And what you got upcoming next to listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable, custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. Also, check our Facebook page, Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. Also, download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And coming soon to Anchor FM and other outlets near you. And subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on YouTube and check us out and take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. We're here with radio producer and fill-in host Michael Heidemann at WGN Radio, and also goes by the name of Michael J. Foxy, the singer-guitar player, playing his acoustic set all over the Windy City. And, of course, we talked about some of the spots he played in. And before we get to some of your upcoming projects, and what are some of your concerts or venues will you be performing later on down the road, especially at the end of the year?
There's a lot of great places to play here in Chicago, and that's what I'm kind of learning more and more going out and playing shows. I mean, I've played everywhere from the Uncommon Ground, which is an amazing local brew, organic food place here in the city, to places like the Gravity Studios, which is a brand new television content creation factory.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so the cool thing about music is all you need is a guitar and a voice, and you can really bring your music anywhere. So there's a lot of great places I have coming up. But again, like I said, Bill's is every single Saturday. I'm looking at some shows maybe around the downtown area. I love playing, local dive bars is my favorite. And you mentioned Lily's, and Lily's is one of my favorite spots because it's just so unassuming and it's just great and run down, but in a good way, but in a classic Chicago way. So if anyone out there wants to book me, you can book me at MichaelHeidemann.com. And come out to Chicago, too. This is a great city, whether you're seeing me or any other kind of musician. We have a great spot for great music here.
That is amazing. And, of course, we are looking forward to it as well, too. And are there any albums or CDs in the works or anything, like, say, put out some releases?
Oh, that's a really great question. I've been really focusing on just making music kind of my hobby at the moment, and trying to build, my career around it. But I haven't recorded anything of substantial, usage yet. I eventually down the road, I'd like to do that. But I feel like sometimes I'm so much of a perfectionist that if I work on a song, I might work on it for the next year and a half to make sure that it's right. But one of these days, I'll put my sappy love songs online and get them for people to share. But right now, if you want to see it, it's all live, and it's all also found on my Facebook page. I record every performance, so you can check it out there too.
That is amazing too, and of course you also won some awards as well too. That you had one like Peter Lisker award winner, and also won some awards with Tribune Broadcasting. Maybe just tell us about your accolades, especially when you come with very impressive credentials.
Well, thanks. Thank you very much. Yes, that Peter Lisagor Award was for consumer journalism. I won it alongside Steve Bertrand, who is one of our hosts here at WGN. He just is an amazing journalist, and we got to look into that. But as far as awards go, the biggest awards that I'm proud of are just getting to work alongside the Publicity Club of Chicago, who does great charity work here in the city, as well as getting to speak at some of their events, and going to South by Southwest and being asked to be a mentor there for people who are up and coming in the radio business has been great. And it's not about awards. I think it's more so about just getting to be a part of a community that is trying to create good, because there's a lot of young people out there who are trying to get into radio like I was, that don't have any path. It's all about who you know, and sometimes if you have a passion and you just don't know anybody, you're thinking, it's a lost cause. I don't know how I'm going to get into this business that I love so much. So getting to help them is, as cheesy as it sounds, that's the award that I really appreciate.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you've made great use of it as well too, and you've mentioned about you've been at Lollapalooza, South by Southwest, and who are some of your favorite artists that you've interviewed as well?
Oh, there are tons of great artists. This past year at Lollapalooza, I spoke to a lot of smaller and up-and-coming bands. I mean, depending on how you look at it, there's this great band called Judah and the Lion, which is coming out of Nashville, who played a few side stages here at Lollapalooza, but at the same time was able to sell out the Ryman Theater down in Austin. So got to speak to them. But some of the greatest artists I've been able to chat with. It's crazy, Mike, because you're into music, you're into journalism, you have a pen and a paper, you have a pen and a pad of paper with you, and all of a sudden you get a message in Austin, Texas, and you're sitting down at a big music festival, and this email comes across that says, "Will you interview Mick Fleetwood?"
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and you're thinking, oh my God, I never thought this would happen. And you're scrambling to look online for all the research you can, calling your friends to ask any questions that they might have. And you get to sit down with this music legend for like 30 minutes alone in a room, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and then the next year, getting an email that says, "Hey, we have a quick opening. Would you want to sit down and speak with Garth Brooks?"
Nice.
And you're thinking, wow, I can't believe that I'm living this life that allows me to speak to these minds, because musicians and people who are in the arts, their minds work differently, and I love diving into that and getting to share their stories with my own listeners, my own audience. Mm-hmm. So those are two of my ultimate favorites. But every single day, it depends on who I'm speaking to, because it could be someone like Garth Brooks or Mick Fleetwood, but at the same time, it could be a local hero in McHenry or Chicago or out in North Dakota who is doing something great for their community. And those people often share more incredible stories than the people that we all look up to. Mm-hmm. So, it kind of depends on the day.
And it's amazing, too. You talk about North Dakota. One of the biggest acts out there is obviously Tiger Lily. That comes from a small town called Hazen, North Dakota. Just two sisters getting together. They've been singing since their church days. They end up going to Nashville and making a splash down there. And I think you also go back to some legends as well, too, way back, maybe your dad's day, like Bobby V coming out of Fargo, even like your grandparents, like Lawrence Welk coming out of Strasburg, or and I
wow.
think there's probably like maybe a few others, but of course Phil Jackson, who coached the Chicago Bulls to 6 NBA titles, and he's from Williston, believe it or not. It's like,
really, yeah, I'm familiar with Phil Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, I did read his book, and it's just amazing how he does things. But of course, you talked about guys like Mick Fleetwood and Garth Brooks and everything else too. That I was just going to get as well too. That how was Mick Fleetwood as a person per se when you sat down for 30 minutes?
Oh my! Well, first of all, tall. He's very tall. He's about 6'7", and he came out wearing a ponytail and this gorgeous purple vest, because he's known for his eccentric outfits. But getting to talk to him, it's cool to see somebody who's traveled the whole world playing music as the drummer of Fleetwood Mac and starting one of the most historic bands ever. And most of the interview was spent talking about his love for this place called Chess Records, which is a historic record company. Or record recording studio here in Chicago, and he talked about just his love for the blues and how it was his dream to play at Chess Records, where all these blues legends played and the Rolling Stones played, and getting to talk to him about that, it's like, oh, you're just a person like me who loves music. It's a really cool thing.
That is amazing too, and I think one of my sisters was close to being on Chess Records as well too, like with Muddy Waters. You mentioned the Stones and everything else. That's probably my dream as well too, just to check out a recording studio, check out a record company, and whatever else. And of course, if you're given a choice of which singer or band to interview, who would you choose? It can be a few if you want.
Out of anybody of all time?
Correct. Yes.
Who would I want to interview? It's tough because you need to reach out to them, and there's a lot of angry PR people. But if all those people were like, "Wow, get a chance to speak to Michael Heidemann," it'd probably be, do they have to be alive?
Or if you want to turn back the time, it can be like in the past. So I'll let it be up to you this time. It's radio. Be creative.
Well, obviously, I think it'd be really cool to talk to Freddie Mercury. I think that he would have a pretty cool grasp on music in his life. Getting to talk to, I would love to speak to somebody like Bruce Springsteen, who has seen so much and he's gone through such levels of his career, but as like a real person, sit down with him for 2 hours and get down to the nitty gritty where he doesn't give me the stock answers would be amazing. and that's what I look for in these artists, trying to figure out a way to just really connect with them. Obviously Paul McCartney would be really cool to speak to as well, and get down to how he really feels about his music and the lives that he's changed, because he's every single aspect of his life has been covered. What could I find that no one else has covered about someone like him? It's a pretty awesome thing to be a part of music and to be listening to these bands. It's I'm afforded a great deal of pleasure. And if you know anybody who knows Paul McCartney, Mike, just give me a text message after the show. That'd be amazing. Okay.
We'll definitely do that. I'll put the feelers out there too. So we'll definitely do that. Maybe reach out to Ringo or something, or you can probably get the afterlife of maybe John or George or anybody like that. So
yeah. Oh, that's not the humble brag. I did sit down with Ringo one time though, and I did get to ask him a few questions. And that was pretty incredible too. You know what I did want to mention? I spoke to Cameron Crowe the other day, and I asked him about you're talking about the interview style and kind of who do I want to speak to. Speaking to him, Cameron Crowe, who was the youngest music journalist for Rolling Stone magazine, and hearing about how he would go on tour with these bands and how he'd get these bands to open up was truly it was so eye-opening, because he was talking about how he would be able to break down these artists just by being genuine with them. It's not about putting out the best story or asking the questions or beefs that you have with that person. You're writing and talking to them like they're a good friend of yours.
Correct.
So yeah,
it's like having a cup of coffee and just having good conversation like you and I are having, just saying. So that's what it's
exactly.
like. Yes,
exactly. I see you as a young Cameron Crowe, Mike. I think that's the way I see it.
A young Cameron Crowe? Holy cow! I grew up on 70s music, actually. Oh my goodness! And of course, we talked about some of the people off the air, like your boss Todd Manley, and a very hilarious Chicago comedian Brian Noonan, going to school with them at Southern Illinois. That will give you an idea of how old I am, but that's a pretty good compliment, Cameron Crowe. I like that.
It's not about how old you look, it's how you feel, right, Mike?
Yes, that's right. And I have to say this, I'm feeling great, and this is the best time of my life, just like we are at this point. I mean, it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree with you, and I can't wait to talk to Brian and Todd about you, and they can share all the great stories about how you used to cut in front of them in the lunch line. I think that,
or just go down to the strip in Carbondale as well too. It's like I just miss those days. I haven't been there in maybe decades and such, but I'm far away up in North Dakota. But I said, one day we'll probably go down there. It's like when South Illinois will be taking on NDSU Bison. They play football in the same league, but yeah, so we just have that. And there was also another thing, too, that I don't know if you brought your guitar or if you happen to, if you want to sing, maybe just play a couple of your original songs or just sing or play what you play at the places we've mentioned at. Give everybody an idea of what you sound like and say, hey, I want to come see you.
Mike, you're putting me on the spot, and I love you for doing it. You're a great journalist for doing that. I think I have my guitar here. I could probably play a song or two.
Okay, great. I'd love to hear it.
All right, let me see if you can hear it all right. Can you hear
Perfect,
that?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. All right, this is a song by those people that were talking about the little band called the Beatles. I guess somebody never really loved me. Why should love me? And if somebody never really loved me, why should love me? Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. 'Cause I'm in love for the first time. Don't you know it's gonna last? This love will last forever. This love has no past. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down.
Oh, that's amazing. Love it. Bravo. Love it.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
Oh, that was amazing. And maybe another song or something. I can let you do a little easier one, too. I'll know what are some of the easiest Beatles songs you've done, or you can just play something easy, too. It's just like, I think we'll have people come out and see you after that.
Yeah, lots of. I think that's the easiest song that I know, Mike. And I think my voice is about shot after I just had a big old cup of coffee. I might need to take a breather there. That's a pretty good one. A classic Beatles songs. Don't Let Me Down.
Oh, that's one of my favorites too. And of course, a cup of coffee. That's what I generally have. And I just like having it straight black. And of course, being in broadcasting, it's like I remember a teacher that worked for CBS Radio. It was the state network, but he's out of Syracuse, and he brings in Diet Pepsi and drinks and says it's the syrup that coats the vocal cords, but coffee does keep you going. I have to say that. So, a little too much can probably dry it up, but it's good to just mix things up and everything else along with water. So I can relate when it comes to coffee. I love that.
Oh, man, me too. And I haven't been able to do it black yet. I mean, you got to be a pretty tough dude to be taking it straight black from the pot, so right on with that. Or Diet Coke. I feel like that's a little too much carbonation jumping on air. But who knows? What works for you works for you. There
you go. And I think that's a great thing. And of course, just a couple more minutes here, and we know you're a very busy guy. And thank you for being on the show. You've been fantastic. Love to have you on again. And of all the projects you've done, what do you consider your most favorite and the most challenging?
Let's see here. My most favorite project, I guess. That's a good question. Because you're as a journalist and as a musician, you're always working towards something else. So it's like you get done with this great interview, this great project that you're creating, and then at the end of the day, you're like, all right, now what am I going to do tomorrow? There is this new project that I'm working on that I'm very, very proud of. It's called Brews and Bands.
Brews and Bands.
It stems from the idea, yeah, of playing with musicians in Chicago throughout all the great, great venues and bars here in Chicago. And I've learned that everybody, no matter what level of music, no matter who you are, everyone has their own specific drink that they go to at a bar, whether it be beer, whether it be coffee, tea, or like a good old-fashioned or Manhattan drink. And I wanted to learn what these musicians were inspired by and how they were inspired by this drink. Like, why is this your like go-to fuel for jumping on stage, whether it be anything? So we take bands who are playing in the city of Chicago, or at least have a Chicago connection, bring them to their favorite venues, have them order their favorite drinks, and have a conversation over that. So that's like one thing that I really, really love, and that's Brews and Bands, and you can find that on WGNradio.com. It's a web series. So go and scope that out. And at the same point, that also might be my hardest project at the moment, because we're putting so much time and effort into it, from booking to creating this content, to asking the questions, to finding these artists, and then to book the venues, and then to put the whole thing together has been a really, really challenging but very rewarding process. So go and check that out again on WGNradio.com.
We will do that. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Biggest influence? Oh, man. It'd have to be my dad. My dad is, even though he's not a broadcaster, he is one of those guys that showed me radio. He always, would turn it on, tell me about NPR, talk about the hosts that he had a lot of passion for. And when we would go out to family reunions or something, he'd always be the one with the loudest voice.
Oh, my.
When we would go to Brewers games in Milwaukee, and he would bring a megaphone on this bus we would go and tell jokes the entire way down. And seeing him being able to speak to people in just a hilarious way, and getting to see the way that he would converse back and forth, he'd have to be my biggest influence. And sometimes I'd love to say like a radio star like Howard Stern or Seacrest or something, but I think I've learned the most about radio from that man. So yeah, I think it'd be him.
It sounds great. And what's the best advice you give to anybody at this point?
This is a great question, and I'm sure you go through this as well, and you would probably agree. You gotta be passionate about what you do, and by that, I mean you need to wake up and not worry about how much money you're going to get paid at the end of the day. You need to be able to do this job for free for a long time. If you're working at a job that you love, you don't work a single day in your life, and that couldn't be more true. Plug in the hours, figure out what the path is you want to take, but don't feel entitled toward this money, because at the end of the day, you're not going to appreciate what you have in the end if you're so focused on the capital that you'll gain, or the likes or the followers. You got to just put out a great, genuine product, and you'll see that once you do that, everything will just fall into place. And I've lived most of my life like that, just being genuinely in love with music and with radio. And there's nothing more you can do than just focus that way. Also, be ready to get no sleep in radio. That's another thing.
I can relate to that. Working every shift I've done since 1982, I can totally relate, and I'll tell you that. And of course, it reminds me of the Geico Lizard as well, too, that you say if you love what you're doing, you have to work a day in your life, and that's so true. Yeah, it is true. You need to have in your heart what you want to do, because at the same time, if you're really good at construction or being a teacher or something, go and do that. But if you want to do something in the creative field, you need to be ready to take the hits and misses, and don't be afraid to hear no, or don't be afraid, to fall down. Just pick yourself back up, because if you love it, then you'll be happy. That's right, and that's very good advice to follow, and thank you very much, Mike. You've been fantastic, and once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's the website? How do people contact you? And tell everybody when they can hear you on WGN especially.
Of course, you can hear me on WGN from 10 until 1 a.m. every single night, Monday through Friday. You can also listen to me on my Sound Sessions podcast. You can find us on sorry about that. You can find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you find your podcasts, iTunes. Make sure you find out all of my new projects, my music dates, and more at michaelheidemann.com. And if you want to find me and connect with me personally, you can look me up on Facebook too. I'm right there. I have a page as well. And Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I'm a huge fan of the show, and I couldn't have been more elated to hear you hear your questions and everything. It was a really great conversation.
Oh, that's great, and I'm looking forward to being on yours too. And also, I'm planning on listening to your show. We encourage everybody to do the same thing. And what is a call-in number if anybody wants to be on your show and ask you questions?
Ooh, for WGN, you just want to call in to 312-981-7200 anytime, and I'm sure that a producer will be very, very kind to you and will try to answer all your questions.
And so that is Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. They can call you at 312-981-7200.
That's correct.
We will do that. Okay, Mike, it's been fantastic. Thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to having you on again soon. I'd like to wish you all the best, and please do us a favor and keep us updated.
Absolutely. I can't wait to come to North Dakota and see you.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. Also, become a sponsor of the program and or donate today at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of The Mike Wagner Show.